It was employed as a theoretical and methodological framework for creating a new notation system for turntablism, but basically it was sample music in itself, because I play samples by hand. This is the idea. According to this theory, performances can be transcribed using a set of so-called parameter motions. These parameter motions are grouped into acoustic motions. That means all these motions on the record. Then we have dynamic motions. That means line fader. Or crossfader. Then we have frequency motions to cut or boost certain frequencies. Then we have panning motion to spread the sound across the room, and effects motion to change the intensity of effects like reverb, delay. This is everything I can do on the mixer. This is a great component for me for express my musical feelings. So how can we systemize all this type of all these motions by separation into so-called motion types? That means due to the fact that you cannot transcribe the musical output of this instrument as ordinary pitch notes, because I can use basically everything, and we need to think a little bit differently about the term what melody is. Motion types constitute the fundamental principles of the composition and help the player to capture positive playing properties on the instrument, which can be defined in the context of classical tune-based music, because we can work with every form of acoustic. So, the least common denominators of motion types are so-called motion, single motions. That means I have two choices to move the record, forward motion and a backward motion on the disc, and I have two choices on the crossfader. That means I can open the signal or I can close the signal. These are my building blocks, my Lego building blocks, basically, to group them and then to handle the wide range of possible playing strategies. A sonic trademark is the integral motion. I think most of you guys know this. This is a typical wiggy scratch. And yeah, I'm going to demonstrate this later on. So now it's interesting because every motion type on the disco on the fader is subject to a unique architecture which is defined by the motion criteria. And these criteria are direction. Then I can play this direction in different time values. I can play these motions in different intensities. Yeah, I'm absolutely flexible. So an S notation is a transcription methodology from which you can read all this motion criteria based on the principles of music theory. As a classical notation, the shape of the symbol and the position inside the step determines the action the musician should take with every form of musical parameters. Here is an overview of important chronological stages of the development of turntablism. And yeah, in the following I will try to give you some basic insights of the notation, starting with the definition of the acoustic motion, so all motions on the record. So, as a general rule, we distinguish all physical movements on the disc into two forms of playing modes. The first playing mode is the hand mode, in which the hand, touching the record, conducts the direction and the speed. Hand mode. The second playing mode is the release mode, in which I let the record play automatically. Yeah. So this is the release mode. Now we have to find a way to transcribe these forms and these two forms of motion direction. So the forward motion, you see a graphical waveform of the forward motion, example, and the backward motion. So my idea was to use the standard note head to indicate the forward motion. That means when I want to say I play a forward motion, I say I play a note. Or when I want to play two forward motions, I say I play two notes. That means, for example, so when I try to denote the backward motion, I mirror the symbol and I say I play an E-tone. Yeah? E-T-O-N. So simplicity is cool. So, and yeah, to indicate the release mode, I use round note heads, I mirror the same, then it's fine for me. So, and like I said, the musical output of turntablism is primarily based on generating groups. Yeah, this is important. I have the single motions, forward, backward, or open, close, and when I group them, I handle the wide range of possible playing strategies. And here is a very famous scratch technique. It's called baby scratch. It was invented in 1976 or something like that. And this crazy name, baby scratch, is basically the first form of notation. Yeah, invented by Wizard Theodore at the Bronx, I think. So, and here we have another technique, and this is interesting because it's a grouping. You can see this is a group of playing a note, and then follows an E-tone and an E-tone. So, and when I play this pattern, it goes like this. That means note, E-tone. So that means a group of 3 motions. So we have 4 different variations for 3 groups. Another is when we play, for example, 2 forwards and 1 backward. Yeah? So, and this is how I create my spectrum of possible playing techniques. So now it's interesting because the motion intensity, yeah, it's absolutely flexible. I can play basically every motion intensity, and this is the speed of the controllers to influence the pitch of the sound. And by using the pitch controller, this is this one here, the pitch control slider, it is possible the turntable speed precisely. And in this mathematical chart you can see the scale of pitch shifting based on a sample which was recorded originally in a C pitch tone, 100% rotation speed of the platter. And here you can see the decrease or increase of turntable speed which influences of the pitch. And yeah, now we come to the notation, and I need a special clef to indicate that the traditional line system is being used to describe this acoustic motion. Here I use the so-called S clef, and as you can see, the S clef has a small black circle on the bottom, which serves as a reference point to denote where the G1 line is. In the same way for the FS clef, this is this one here. The black circle at the top shows the position of the pitch F. Now by using the symbols for notes and E-tones, it is possible to create scales. Yeah, this is for notes, so forward motions. Boom, 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 boom. So, and then I can do the same with E-tones. And now I put a minus sign before every C, D, E, F, G to denote that I play an E-tone and whatever. So, another interesting thing is that I can form different chords by using notes and E-tones. Here you can see on the left side a common C major triad, sounds like this. So then the next variation is a minus C, E, G. That means I play the C as a backward motion. It sounds like this. Then another variation is a C minus E, G. Sounds like this, and then C, E minus G. Yeah, you can hear some slightly different acoustical results. Yeah. So, and sorry. Yeah, based on this scale principle, you can compose 8 different variations of a regular C major triad. However, sounds with pure pitches are only a small fraction what I can theoretically be used for making music. That means noises, beat fragments, or whole musical phrases are all within the scope of this instrument. So sounds with an unidentified pitch, basically. So how can we notate this? The solution to this question is really simple. It's entirely tuned into the needs of the player, which means we determine visible levels of motion intensity we find useful for composition purposes. After this, we subdivide the line system based on this assumption like this. So, like this. So, and here you can see line systems for notes first, then for etones. And here you can see different degrees of turntable speed, which relates to a certain line or distance in the steps. The reference point is always the original speed of the sound material, 100%. This one here, and it's represented by the center line of this middle line system. So, based on this, it is possible to derive an increase or decrease of the motion intensity due to the position of the symbols above or below the center line. Using this method, we can create an individual scale for composition depending on the sound material which we use, or which is named variable principle. To provide a communicative basis such as in classical music theory, all different degrees are named with characters from the alphabet. You can see this: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, 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 blah. And, okay, this was for motion intensity domain. Now we come to another domain of theory of motions, and this is the so-called anatomy. That means the disk range of motion allows the player access to any point in the entire length of the sample, and you can see this in the graphic over there. Yeah, I can go through the sample and start playing basically on every position. Yeah. So now we want to be able to transcribe music notations as different temporal stages. In anatomy and theory of motion, the subject is called anatomy, derived from the term anatomy, with the idea to slice a sound body into different parts. This is important because, as you can see, I can play it. I can start my groups from any temporal stages, and this is really important to transcribe this possibility. And for doing this, I work with colors. So here you see the analysis of a sample played as a note in a graphical waveform, and all these different sections got colors. So when I transfer this methodology on my platter or my turntable, it looks like this. This is a corresponding visual representation of the playing position in relation of a 90-degree record movement. And now I transfer this color scheme on S notation. That makes it possible to indicate which temporal stage of the sample I would like to play. To demonstrate this method in practice, let's have a look at drum scratching once again. And here you can see, or this is what I have presented at the beginning. That means kick drum and snare are my two samples. And all these black notes indicates the kick drum, and all these red ones indicates the snare. So when it sounds like this, it looks like this. So in the notation you can see some additional symbols above the line system. These symbols indicate the performance on the crossfader. So basically my second component, all the stuff on the mixer. And this brings us to the new parameter motion, dynamic motion. Heating and turntablism is today a virtuoso performance art largely through having perfected complicated variations of these same fader movements to modified sound have in a various way. Yeah, I can do some crazy gestures here. I can play, for example, or imitate effect of an echo. So now I will try to create a fader language or notation for transcribing all this pattern. Dynamic motion can be separated into first fading and second cutting. The difference between them can be seen in the envelope graphs. The volume is measured along the y-axis and the physical position of the fader along the x-axis. By fading, a modulation of the volume is adjustable. This is what I have shown. And by cutting, you have only a minimum or maximum of volume. This is the reason why you can cut the sound. So, how can we notate this? Simple, we use symbols like this for the open motion. It's this one here on both. It's a note symbol, it's a semicircle pointing to the right. And when I see this indication, I know I play a note, so a quarter note. And similar, I open the signal to make it audible. Yeah, this is it, this is the performance. For the closed motion, it goes like this. The fader is open. I play my note, my quarter note, and then after this, I close the fader. So now, please have a look at the symbols. Semicircle to the right, semicircle to the left. When we combine them, we come to the next group. This is the open-close motion, which results in a circle. That means I start with a closed fader, similar, I open when I perform the note, and after this I close. So now when we group them in as an inversion, it looks like this. It's a close-open motion, and the idea of the close-open motion is funny because we put a cut point in the note, so in the acoustic motion. That means I play this motion here, the forward, the note, and then close open, and the result is with a cut point. And when I play such a pattern, for example, continually, you obtain such a acoustic. So, then we have another gesture. This is a transformer, which produces more sharp cuts because I have some pressure on the crossfader and my index finger bounds to the crossfader, and it's the reason why we have so sharp cut points. Another one is the reverse transformer. This is a counter movement in which I play with the thumb. And now it's interesting. Do you think that there are some acoustical differences of all these cutting techniques? Yeah, for sure. And here you can see a graphical waveform of all these techniques. The first one is where I have played the transformer techniques 4 times over a note. The second one, I've played the open-close motion. The third one is the close-open motion, then the reverse transformer motion. Now, to get an imagination of the performance and the acoustical differences, let's have a look at the following video. In this I have played one and the same drum scratching pattern by using all these crossfader techniques. So, at first you can see the performance on the fader, and now as in a combination. So that next, this one. So this was the same time value, right? This was a 116. Played as a 116. some slightly acoustical differences between all these cutting techniques, and this is the reason why I try to classify them like close, open, transformer, and all this. So we see the way that record and fader interacts forms the basis of using the turntable and mixer as a combined musical instrument, in my opinion. Each of these cutting techniques allows the turntablists to create interesting rhythms through the manipulation of the dynamic structure of the sample. So
short interplay before he starts to show an example from Gabriel Prokofiev. You probably think now how will this look when you notate. One thing that we can say is that this is still a work in development, and there are not so many people having used it yet, and hopefully there will be a lot. So that is still up for discussion, and I'm sure that Alex is very happy to talk to anyone with interest in this kind of notation, because as I said, he is not coming from the academic area, and it would be a really good opportunity to actually learn more about it. Well, so what can be the future of scratch notation? That's hard to say right now, but it has huge implications for instance, tutoring. You saw that white prototype of a turntable in one of the videos. To imagine how to show different kind of scratches on the turntable while we play can mean very much. And right now, the only way to learn how to scratch is by practicing and by watching YouTube videos. And that is what people do, and there is really no alternative. And you can also have a teacher showing you, but it has not yet become standard in universities, for instance, to learn this art. So hopefully a lot can change with a more standardized format, as we will see now. And also to have a theoretical framework in which to place scratching, which has been lacking so far. So with this, we will go over to show an example of S notation in use, where the concerto for turntable and orchestra, written by Gabriel Prokofiev, has been annotated now. It was not written with this annotation, I would say, but has been done later on, because he expressed the composer expressed that it was very hard to actually teach a new DJ how to perform it, because he is not the DJ himself, and then he had to go through long sessions of, no, you should do this, you should do that. So this comes from a real need, and Alex will talk you through those slides.
Gabriel Prokofiev wrote this piece in 2006, it's the first presentation.
And if his name sounds familiar, he is the grandson.
The grandson of Peter the Wolf. This is him. So, and yeah, now you see a video, and this is a folk movement played by UK's famous turntablist Mr. Switch with the National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain, conducted by Vladimir Jurovsky from the Albert Hall in London. So we see an except this. Some basic infos. Mr. Switch works in this piece with an orchestral sample, which was produced by the composer himself and then pre-recorded to scratch with. The sample goes like this. again. So in the main pattern, what this switch plays, it goes like this. Oh, sorry. So now I will go through the procedure of transcription with S notation. And first we have to analyze the sound material to do some pre-settings for the notation. That means because of the use of pre-recorded sound material, the initial values regarding time value, pitch, and anatomy have to be considered in the transcription methodology. So here we see all relevant info in the score, some expressive markings by the composer. Then we see the speed, 170 BPM, and the rotation speed of the turntable. Then, furthermore, it is important the name of the amplifier and the length of the amplifier. Now, in addition, the graphical waveform of the sample in itself. And here you can see that I have colored this sample to indicate my cue points, which I use for playing, because I have to know when I play the first tone, when I play the second, the third, blah, blah, blah. So, and as you can see, the sample consists in its entirety of 4 transients. That means 3 tones, which follows, and then follows a reverse tone, yeah? When we, or due to the fact that we play now, you see the notation, that we play all these motions in a release mode. That means I play it every time I let the sample play, it runs automatically. Once again, I use round note heads and pull or set them in the center line to denote that I played with the rotation speed of 100%. So now, due to the coloring of the notes, I can play, or I can see which tone I have to play. That means I start with the black one first, then follows the red one, then the yellow 2 times, and then the blue one. So above the line system, we see the corresponding fader performance. So I talk about, this is the open-close motion, so the circle. And yeah, to illustrate the corresponding pitch of the sample, this is interesting for traditional musicians to know what kind of sample I play or what is this for pitch. I have included traditional notation which present the pitch. So this is very important. Yeah, based on all these infos, the player can repeat the pattern. So Gabriel can give this piece to another turntablist that he can play basically the same moves. And yeah, let's go back to the video and have a look how Mr. Switch starts to modify the main pattern when the orchestra comes in. That means he starts with his main pattern, goes like this. And then the orchestra comes in and he starts to modify this a little bit. Let's see. Now I try to give you some little basic insights with his variations, what he plays. So we see basically it's the same as the main pattern. You start with the first tone, you start with the second tone, and then at the third tone he plays the tone as a 1/8 and then follows 2 1/60 E tones. That means I have to play the sound 2 times backwards. So the pattern goes like this from the beginning. Black, red, then yellow, 2 backwards. Once again, and then when I play it subsequently, it goes like this. So this was the first variation. Okay, and the second variation is when he plays basically. notation which is below. Yeah, you can see here before having the tone, places the forward-backward motion, and this is a way how to use the turntable to modify pre-recorded sounds and put it in combination with the classical music orchestra. So after all this turntablism stuff, we have to get things straight. We still works on a playback device, basically, and the evolving process to transform this into a full-fledged instrument is, in my opinion, technically not healthy, not nature. So in doing my research, I always try to find a way to expand the capacities of this instrument, and here's an example.
So welcome everybody, this is Alex Sonnenfeld, and this is the idea of polyphony scratching.
This is it. Thank you very much.
We could fit in one or two quick questions before the next presentation. We're running a little bit late, but I think we can do that.
How are you going about actually creating the notation for like on computers, let's say? I know that I can explain it about the system developers. I just wondering how you actually create the notation yourself.
Yeah, okay. You know, I'm a high school dropout. I was sitting in my dungeon the whole time doing just scratching. I just want to do scratching. I love music, I just want to do scratching. And then I tried to find a way. And a friend of mine, he played trumpet, and he used traditional music notation. So, and then I saw a note, and then my idea was just to mirror the symbol. And I think the simplicity of mirroring something is a way for me, or was a way to create the whole system. Because everything is plus, minus, and this is basically the concept behind this.
Yeah, I think maybe your question was a bit different.
Yeah, like
right. At the moment, it is not implemented in a music writing software, so that's still something that Alex should really hear more about.
Another quick question.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. Thank you very much. I like it very much. I just thinking about the orchestra piece. I think we can go much more further in the interaction between the scratch and the turntable and the orchestra. I mean, it was like mimicking something. I don't like it very much.
But you heard the whole thing? Or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think, this instrument is much more complex and much more sonically.
I think there are.
I would like to listen to something more radical.
Absolutely. I think there are maybe 4 concepts now for the turntable orchestra. Compare that to anything.
Yeah. So 4 concepts.
There's probably more for ukulele than this.
Okay. But you know, these points of contact are really important to make a bridge, or to create a bridge between these 2 areas of studied musicians and non-studied musicians, so turntablists and traditional musicians.
Yeah, but I think that the interesting thing is to consider them at the same level, not separately.
Yeah, okay.
That's, I think, sonically and technically.
Thank you. I've been told we need to move forward. So let's thank these guys again. Please feel free to speak amongst yourselves or anyone else who want to speak amongst while I'm ashamed.
Technically.
Sì,